morning, everyone. Welcome Inside the Faith Loop. Wednesday, September 27th, the year of our Lord, 2023. Lots going on in the world. The crisis of identity continues. We are at 2,111,437 day, 27th day, 37th day, there it is, of this crisis. And it continues, and men continue to wax worse and worse. And we're here to share some good news. That's our job. Because when you watch the news, it's usually bad news.
Mm-hmm. Most of it.
And you hear these people talk, and you're like, do they know what is even coherent talk? I mean, I understand, my dad here, no, he's 81. And they're talking about, a lot of these lawmakers and whatnot. I mean, I don't mind people in their age and whatnot. It has nothing to do with that. To me, it doesn't. It's still a matter of the actual thought process, and what you're actually saying isn't right. That's what it's that's what matters to me. Yeah. I mean, if they were doing what's right, I don't care how old you are.
No, age doesn't matter.
In that respect, I mean, goodness. That's
still got your faculties.
As long as you got, some of them, there's a struggle. We understand that, and that happens. That's the sad part.
Yeah, and I don't wish that on anybody.
No. Heck no, Dad. No. And it's sad to me, Pop, to watch that. Sad. And they put these people, like watching Mitch McConnell when they put him out there and he just froze. I mean, I feel bad for that man because in some capacity, there are people doing this. No, why don't you treat the man with some dignity? We don't have any. That's what it shows you. We don't have no dignity, Pop.
And even then, their egos are so great that even with the known problems, they won't
let go of it.
They won't let go. We're going to be here.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and so, why don't you do the right thing and step aside, take care of yourself? But they're not going to do that.
No. And that shows you where we're at. And yesterday we talked about the wrath of God revealed and understanding what that wrath is. Remember, we are under a sentence of death. And the word wrath, remember, the mind, the disposition, the desire. That's what this word means. We create the idea of the violence in it or the punishment in it. But it's just the desire, the excitement of the mind. That's what it does. Well, by implication or analogy, violence. Well, no, it just means what you set your mind at. Mm-hmm. Now, it's got some vigor. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, do you think the Lord has excited his mind against ungodliness and unrighteousness? Yep.
Yeah. Think so, pretty much.
And the sentence has already been rendered, death. So we understand this is the disposition of Jehovah's mind towards those who hold the truth in unrighteousness, or against unrighteousness and ungodliness, who hold the truth in unrighteousness. And this is where we want to pick up today, because this is, I think, an interesting, because it finishes the whole thought. And you understand death. We hold what truth to be self-evident? These men that rebelled against the throne of England, creating revolution, war, used a document that said we hold these truths to be self-evident. we talk about all men are created equal. Well, we know people don't believe that. That is self-evident. Yeah. I mean, that just struck me. It's true, though. One thing that we see that's self-evident, in my estimation, I'm sorry, is we don't believe all men are created equal.
No. No.
That's a fact.
Yeah. It's just the truth. I mean, you can't study the history of the United States and not realize that.
Study the history of mankind.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about just, this is where they said that.
Oh, yeah. I understand.
And so, come on.
Well, it was said long before this kind of, and that's the thing I want people to understand. You have to consider, and I understand it's in the Declaration, and we are the founding documents of this nation. But Enlightenment thinking was there long before the United States came along. It's what the Civil War in Great Britain was about. I mean, Oliver Cromwell and all this Enlightenment thinking, John Locke, all these men, Voltaire, the French Revolution, and all this stuff, it happened in Europe long before it came to the United States. Or the colonies at the time, I should say. So I understand what you're saying, but that's what I mean. This was a thought process. All men are created equal. This is where Enlightenment thinking produced it. The men that came to the colonies to start were much of this mind, a Thomas Paine, a Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Paine especially, that guy was... Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is read his writings to know where he stood. Yeah. And they talk about natural law and nature's God. So what truth do we hold self-evident? So this truth that we hold in unrighteousness. The one topic that pops up, Dad, constantly especially on the side of in our culture today, conservatism, the right, as they call it, is the word freedom. This is about our freedom. We can't give away our freedom. Well, what are you free from? And we've talked about this this particular thing, but this goes specifically to this topic. And I want to make sure, because Paul's making this point within this sentence as he finishes and moves into his dialogue concerning righteousness throughout this letter. You have to understand, this letter is written based upon a subject matter. And the subject matter is righteousness, because in Rome, you had Gentiles and Jewish believers. You had people of these two different cultures working toward believing in Jesus. Mm-hmm. How many of us are willing to let go of our worldly culture?
Yep.
Oh, that's not right. Oh, wait a minute. No, we're a great nation. God created this nation. And I think that's the difficulty. I know there's difficulties more in other nations, and it's hard for us to consider things in this fashion. But what are we being called out of, and what are we being called out from? Because this is what the good news does. It calls you out of this world. Out of what?
Well, okay, let's take Israel, for example.
Okay.
Israel was a nation established by the Lord,
right?
Chosen at that time. But when Jesus came, what do you tell them?
That's a great.
Your traditions
Yeah.
mean more to you than the truth.
Amen, Dad.
And where those traditions come from, the ones they made.
Yes.
They built a culture.
Amen.
And the Lord said, you got to come out of that culture. You got to let it go. One of the things that the early believers, one of the things people couldn't understand about them is that they did. They let go of all that stuff.
Yes, they did.
And they just lived according to what the Lord had taught them. And people couldn't understand them. They thought, well, you're not this and you're not that and you're not a nationalist. You're not you're not out picketing for the rights of the Roman people and all of this. And, they didn't. And they were criticized for it. They were hated for it.
And I think one of the best examples we have of that actually in written form is Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was either Galatians, I think it was to the Galatians, because there were people, the Jewish community there was saying, no, you have to do this. And it was believers who were, they called Judaizers. Some were, you had the Jews that stayed, that didn't believe in Messiah, but then you had those that believed but wanted this was the argument back in Jerusalem, you're eating meat sacrificed to idols, you're this, you're this, you're this, you're not circumcised, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the traditions.
The traditions. And this is what Paul was dealing with. And Paul, he's telling these Galatians, believers on both sides, he says, look, you think you're righteous because of this. Well, let me explain. I am of the house of Benjamin, circumcised the 8th day. Of the law, no match. Pharisee of the Pharisees. And I consider all of that as filthy rags. My righteousness, that's what he called it. So this is what we're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
See, so Paul understands this thought process, doesn't he?
Oh, he understood it very well. And, coming from the background he had, Paul, as Brian just said, this guy was steeped in his own traditions and religion. He was steeped in it. He was proud of it. He stood by and they laid Stephen's clothes at his feet, and while they stoned Stephen to death.
Well, it was actually the cloaks of the men who stoned Stephen.
Well, yeah, the cloaks, but still, he stood there and watched this. He ordered it. He was on his way with letters to capture believers.
It was Paul who probably was standing there, and when they ordered them to take Stephen out, he's the one that oversaw all that. He was the captain of the host there.
He was the officer.
Yes.
And so the Lord kind of got his attention when he was on that road trying to, taking those letters, and the Lord got his attention really in a real way. And what did Paul do? He didn't rebel.
No.
He didn't say, it was just a passing thing. I must have ate something bad or something,
Bad dates.
Yeah. No, it changed him.
Yes.
And he no longer was that Pharisee. He was no longer that person. He changed his whole idea of culture.
Yep.
And he went against his own culture.
Yes.
In the sense that he refused.
That he knew.
Yeah, he ceased to do it.
Yes.
It's not a matter of, fighting it or going against it or in that.
Now we're revolutionaries for Jesus.
No, but he just ceased to do it. He ceased to believe in it. He said, this isn't the way. This isn't the way to life. It isn't the way. There's another way, and that way is truth, and it comes from the one who brought the truth.
Messiah. We see Messiah. You don't think Paul didn't understand the messianic teachings and thoughts of that
absolutely.
day? Sure he did. He was there with the Pharisees. He was part of that group that were asking him, are you him?
Yeah.
We're going to make you king. They tried to make him king. You don't think Paul knew what was going on in that day?
Sure he did.
He might not have been alive in that, depending upon his age and whatnot, but you don't think he knew or heard about all that or what was going on? Sure he did. He understood it because he was the one with the letters. He had letters in his hands, letters to go and arrest believers.
Well, he was probably
in
alive
Damascus.
at that time.
Might have been a kid.
Yeah, he might have been young,
Yeah.
a little.
So, and I think this is what is interesting about, none of us were alive in 1776.
No.
Or 1774 or anything time before that. But so freedom? No, this is about righteousness. This is about what is right. We hold what truth? And here's the thing. Let's look at this word unrighteousness. This is the Greek words here. I have it listed. Lauren, I'm sure you have the link. I haven't updated that yet, though. Dang it. My fault, folks. I will update this link in the description. I missed one. Because we'll have these words here. This is the Greek. Adikia. From G94. This is Strong's reference, G93. In parentheses, legal, this is the word we use in justice. Properly, the quality, by implication, the act, moral wrongfulness of character, life, or act. We translate this word into English, this Greek word, adikia, into iniquity, unjust, unrighteousness, wrong. And to me, the best word to describe this would be just simply wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then you have the G94, which is the word that is used a lot here, or comes to this adikos. It is unjust, by extension wicked, by implication treacherous. This is another form of this word, but it gives us the root here because G93 is from G94. And then G94 is a combination word of G1, which is the negative particle for un, and then 1349, DK, or DK, excuse me, I'm sorry. It's just the word DK. Probably from G1166. This word simply means right. Oh, look at that, as self-evident. So do you think the writers at the time had a little bit of influence of the Enlightenment period? Strong's, all these guys. Many of the reformers had a very Enlightenment form of thought process here. Mm-hmm. So what is right? We hold these truths to be self-evident. See, because it's not about freedom. I know people run around screaming, freedom, because we love the old Mel Gibson, freedom. Yeah. Everybody's like, we're free. Free from what? No, you're not. We all have standards by which we are
held accountable.
But we do have, what right do we have to exist? This is the point of it. I wish we would talk about this more. What right do we have to exist in the earth? Because if we truly believe, so what makes Jehovah righteous? And then his mind against man, the wrath being death. No right. We think as we're on the earth, we have the right to do these things. We have rights. We write down rights. The rights of men. What right? What makes you right? That's the question. And people go, well, you're talking about philosophy. No, I'm not talking about. Yeah. I do want to know. Because philosophy, philosophia, the love of knowledge. Well, men do seek after knowledge. But shouldn't we seek after it in the right way? Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. This is what Jesus said. So we can't just throw these things away. Well, that's just man's way of going. We don't have to know. We just have to have faith. Well, the word faith means to be convinced. In the Hebrew, to support and build up. Well, how do you support something if you don't know what it is? You just support these people in our Congress willy-nilly and don't really care who they are, what you know about these people? That's a recipe for disaster. And, oh, yeah, that's right. We're in one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that's what we've done, Dad.
Yeah. And the tragedy of that is, let me put this the best way I can. Do any of them really show us who they really are? You know, you hear them talk, they say this, they say that, and they say the other thing. And then once they're elected, they either do stuff that is totally opposed to what they said when they were running, or they do nothing. Right. They don't fight against nothing or do nothing. Well, we're going to do this, and we'll do this, and we'll get this done. Well, and then there's another part of that I think people are just naive about. You know, we hear the guy say, well, I'll do this, and I'll do this, and I'll do this. Especially like congressmen or senators. They're one. Now, he might try, he might introduce a bill or whatever, but he by himself can't get nothing done.
Nope. No.
All he can do is try to influence or try to get this or try to get that. And there are a few that really do. There are a few.
I agree.
But they're far between.
And what does the word try mean? Lament of the failed.
Yeah, right.
He sure did try.
He tried. So it's more than just listening to rhetoric and people talk and this and that and other. There's a few people that get it done. Trump got a lot of things done that he said he would do. He did. There's other presidents. Ronald Reagan got some things done that he said he would. And this president we have now, he got some things done that he said he would, but in a negative way. Yeah, he shut down energy, he shut down the oil pipeline, he shut down it all. He said he would do that. Mm-hmm. And people still voted for him. And so... Wow. Well, yeah, well, some did. At least 50 or 60, you know. I'm facetious here, but
in that same scope, okay, and what right do you still have to exist?
Right, exactly.
Oh, how do you live? Answer this question. Because when we talk about these things, and when you look at the Judeo-Christian thought process, when you look at this one biblical narrative that has spawned three different institutions of faith, from Christianity, which is the largest one, to Islam, which is the second largest one in the world, to Judaism, which comes down below. It's way down at the bottom, but it's probably if not maybe one of the most well-known in the world. Mm-hmm. Okay? So you have these three institutions of faith from one narrative. What's the truth? Where does right come? Well, we all are holding, and Christianity says one. See, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't agree with all three of them. I don't agree with all three of them. Well, Brian, you're a Christian. No, I'm not. I'm a follower of Jesus. I believe that Jesus is the Christ, the anointed one, the one who sits at the right hand of the Father. I believe he came to deliver the last offering to the Israelites. He came to do the will of his Father who sent him. And his will was to bring the message of righteousness to mankind again. Mm-hmm. Because we are holding it in unrighteousness. This is the point Paul's making. And we're all under a sentence of death. How do we escape death? I have not heard one of these people tell me how to escape death yet. They're working on it. I mean, the science, man, they're going.
Oh, yeah, they're trying.
We talked about that yesterday. Those references are there.
Yeah.
Immortality, man, we're going to get there.
Well, you know, the cryogenics, that's the first thing they tried, you know. We're going to
freeze you.
We're going to freeze you, and we'll bring you back when we've got the cure for this. And, you know, and some places they just freeze their head. So they're going to reattach it to a body, or what are they going to, or a robot, man, or whatever they're going to do. I don't know.
Transfer my consciousness. So I got that going for me.
Right.
And we'll believe this
mercy.
stuff.
Yeah.
But we won't believe in Jehovah or Jesus.
Oh, no. That's too hard.
That's amazing to me. So that shows you what they think is right and what they have rights to.
Yep.
This is what this is about. It is not about freedom. It is not about governance. It's not about any of these things. It's about who holds the rights of the earth. This is the rebellion. Adam, man, that's what Adam means. It wasn't his name. It was an appellation that describes what he was left to. This flesh is called man in its incomplete form. That's what man is. Jesus has the name of the Father. He was given that name. That name is above every name. That was held by the first creation in the beginning. We only see the word man because Jehovah did not share that at that time with Moses. He did share his name, and Jesus made this clear before Abraham was, I am. And so we equate this as where Christianity gets everything wrong. See, he's God. He said, I am. No. He's claiming his Father's name. He's claiming the right to exist in his image and likeness. The second Adam that made everything complete in us. It's about what is right. This is how we hold the truth and unrighteousness. This belongs to the Lord. Mm-hmm. Everything, the earth and everything in it belongs to the Lord. That includes this. Because weren't we in the earth, Dan? Yes. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, we were free. We have free will. Do you? So your free will is doors 1 and 2. But I'm free to choose it, man. I can choose death if I want to. Well, good. I mean, I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. What's your other choices?
I know, yeah. I set before you this day what? Life and death, blessing and cursing. There wasn't much choice there. It was just.
Well, I'm free to do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can make that decision, but I would highly suggest you don't.
Where do we come up with this? I mean, this is. I laugh because it's funny to me. I'm sorry. And we buy this stuff, Dad. We buy it. Like it's, yeah, that's it. So if you don't choose Jehovah, what's your other options? If you don't choose life in this respect, what's your other options? Tell me. What was Adam's option? Do you get to what is free will? Well, I can choose death if I want to. Well, why would you? I must be crazy. I think that sometimes. Because when I listen to these theologians, these pastors, these teachers talk about these things, it doesn't make sense. And I would venture a guess that there are other people out there like this, like me, that think this way, that go, that just doesn't sound right, but I don't know, I'm not a theologian. Well, yeah, you don't have to be. Did it make sense? No. There you go. That's step number one.
Well, the head of the Harvard Theological Seminary at Harvard Theological Seminary is an atheist. Well, okay. So I'm going to go to Harvard Theological Seminary and study under an atheist. Now, what sense does that make? What sense does that make? I mean, have they lost their mind or what? Yeah, I'm going to go and study under a man that doesn't believe nothing that he's talking about. Okay.
And this, so what right do we have, Dad? And this is at the crux of it, isn't it? How mankind himself is the truth of God, image and likeness, but have no right to exist. This is where we're at, because this form is the image of Jehovah. It looks like him. It's a representation of his image, his physical image. Mm-hmm. I know that hurts people's feelings, but that's the truth of it.
That's what he said.
I'm just saying. We have this, but we have no right to exist right now because we let go of that knowledge. And this is what Paul references. We're going to talk about this a little bit more. We didn't hold that knowledge about him. So we lost our right as sons. I want that to sink in. Because we're running around now talking about our rights. Mm-hmm. We have rights. Rights to what? Is it this nation? And are we going to hold on to that culture? Or are we going to cross over from that death, that wrath, that disposition of Jehovah's mind against all unrighteousness and ungodliness, which are the governances of men, the nations of men, and cross over from that into the kingdom of Jehovah, into life, and let go of that culture and be cultivated into a new and living way? Do we even consider that?
I don't think most people do, no. I really don't. When we look, well, let me put it like this. We live in America, okay? Greatest country in the world. All right. Have you ever traveled in the world? Have you ever gone anywhere? Have you ever been in any other country? They believe theirs is. They're proud to be. In fact, this is funny. Many Sundays we go and eat at a certain Mexican restaurant here in the area.
Yeah.
And one of the waiters, a lot of them know us now, and one of the waiters, he's a great guy. He's friendly, and so he'd been on vacation. I asked him, I said, "Man, I haven't seen you in a while. Where you been?" He said, "Well, I've been in Mexico visiting my family on vacation." I said, "Well, how many of your family members still live there?" He said, "I got 4 brothers, 4 sisters, and my mom and dad." And he said, "They used to come up here and visit stuff, but he said they don't even want to come anymore." So I had to laugh. I couldn't help it. I said, they don't want to come. They don't even want to come. You know, they're crossing the border by their gobs, but they don't even want to come.
Oh, dear.
So, well, why wouldn't they want to get out of there? Because they like their country. You know, and we sit around and think, well, everybody wants to come here. No, they don't. Oh, there's many, but most of them, and you have to understand this, the reason that most of them are coming is they're coming out of nations where they're impoverished.
Where they want them to come from.
Yeah, and where they want them to come from. Because, there's too much to go into right now, but, I thought that was funny.
Well, and to your point too, Dad, when you look at the immigration, I know it's a lot of people, and they've talked about, 2-3 million, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that's a lot of people, and we go, oh my gosh. Well, there's 8 billion people on the planet.
Right.
What percentage of that is less than 1%? Like 2 million, 3 million? It's less than 1%, isn't it, Lauren? I think. Yeah?
Less than?
You got 8 billion people. 3 million people coming across. That's less than 1%.
Yeah, it would be
8 million is 1%. Yeah. So it's still less than 1%. So in reality, in the percentages, we look and that's a lot of people. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Right. I agree. And it's 10% of our current population. But in the scope of the whole world and what you were saying about other people coming from other nations, it's less than 1%.
Well, I heard they played an excerpt of a lady the other day that she had said how that we should allow these people to come in. We should allow to have them. After all, we have such a rich culture. And now she's saying we can't take any more. We can't. You know why? Because it's hitting their pocketbook.
And to that point, too, Dad, what right do they have to come here?
They don't.
And this is the thing.
Not legally.
If we're talking about rights, see, we're not even holding to that thought process. Well, they have. Are they a citizen? To carry the rights of a nation, you must be part of that culture. You must have the citizenship, and it's 0.03% of the world's population that has come to this country. Okay, so there's a lot of people still in their own country.
Yeah, that's a shocker, isn't it?
Come on. And the line I saw the other day was a line of military-aged men. So, anywho, I digress.
Yeah.
Rights. Well, right. What are we holding righteous? What do we hold to that's right? You have to hold. Let's come out of this culture. Let's come out of this culture. I know that we talk about, well, I'm an American. I'm a follower of Jesus. I have abandoned those things which are behind me, and I press towards the mark. That mark is the image and likeness of Jehovah that I have found in Jesus that brings me to wholeness and completeness. So I don't hold the truth about what I was created to be without the right to do so. I don't take my Father's name in vain. I'm going to fill it up. I'm going to fill up this physical being with the righteousness of Jehovah, with his knowledge and understanding of what is true. Therefore, my conduct shows me to be right before my Father. And that's what it should be about, Dad.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We got some comments there, Pop?
Oh, not too many.
A lot of how do you do's?
Yeah, well, yeah. My wife try never did anything but want, and that's what my dad always used to say. So try. Well, even Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda got it right.
Yeah.
No trying. Do.
Do or don't do.
And I think Jesus said that. So
But no
somebody.
try. Yeah.
No trying.
Yeah, either be a believer or don't.
Yeah.
But there's no middle ground.
No, there isn't, Dad.
Either
you get
you're
squished.
Either you're hot or you're cold. Jesus said, I would rather you be hot or cold. If you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out of my mouth. So there's no in between in this. No in between.
The righteousness that we must hold is in that image and likeness. And when you go down to the Greek, Dad did a study on this. It's been a few Sundays. Been a while, a little bit. It was this year, I think, though. But when you look at the word, dikenu, I think is the way it's pronounced. A prolonged form of an obsolete primary. This is where everything, all this righteousness, unrighteousness, all this word, it all starts in this base. It's a reference G1166 in Strong's. Primary of the sense meaning to show. Show. And we have the showbread from the temple. Right, to build up support. Our lives must show what is that good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. That we are found acceptable in that image and likeness. What is the rights of mankind? Well, it's that right that we have been given, that life, but we have to hold the truth of Jehovah in this image and likeness. That's what we have to do. Letting go of these cultures. I know that's hard for us because we want to get political. If we don't, that's what God wants. God wants this man to be president. Let me ask you, and this is the way I end it. Which one of these men is going to give you eternal life? I only know one man who did that, who brought that understanding of that. And he sits at the right hand of the Father. That's who we should follow. And if we are not called out of this cultural nightmare that men have created and come into the new and living way, we are objects of wrath.
That's what the book says.
Share the good news of Jesus Christ. We hope this helps you think about things. I'll make sure I update the references for you there. I promise you that. And think about these things. Think about these things. Go and look. Go and read. Go and study. That's what Dad's always said. Go look for yourself. Listen to what people are saying. But listen with intent that understands I'm looking for the truth in Jesus, not in these governments, because there is no truth in these governments. They don't tell the truth. They don't hold the truth. They don't believe in it. They're setting themselves up. Thank you for tuning in. We do appreciate it. We really do.
Yep, we do.
Next Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll be back. We have a Bible study next week. We're talking about the good news of Jesus Christ. Literally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dad's back on Sunday. We appreciate it very much. Remember to pray for the folks in Uganda. Pastor Felix, they're doing a lot of good things. We're working that way. So I'm very pleased for them.
Yes.
The Lord's moving upon their lives, and we appreciate it. Those the same in Egypt. If you followed our ministry and whatnot, Jack Harris, those folks, there's a lot going on in the world other than just politics.
Yeah, you bet.
And we should be mindful of those things. Mindful. We love you. We care about you. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. Always remember to give love.
And give life.
And give Jesus.